Just a quick follow-up video on the two faulty Neo Geo consoles that I'd bought from eBay, and a couple of people have been asking me how did it turn out, did I get them fully repaired, and so on and so forth. So I thought I'd just do a short video here and actually show you what ended up happening with them. And this is the first system here. This is the one, I don't know if you remember, but it had a really badly installed Unibias chip in it. And when I hooked it up to the TV, hooked up the power and the audio and put a game in, it actually worked. It was throwing up a BIOS error, but it would play the game. Also kind of had some sound issues with it as well. But the main problem is basically just that someone hadn't installed the Unibias properly. They'd actually soldered it directly onto the board, which is a big mistake. Well, it's not a big mistake, but really what you should do is use one of these things here. This is like a little socket. So you install that onto your motherboard, and then you just you can plug your BIOS chip in and out of that as you need to. But what they'd done is they'd actually just soldered this directly to the board, damaged the board a bit, and also then had to go and patch traces and all sorts. So yeah, the main plan with this one, I was going to desolder that Unibias chip, install that socket, and get all the traces and everything sorted out, and then sell the board on. The other thing I had to do was with the issue that it was having with the sound was due to this here, and I don't know if you can just make that out there, but there's a big crack on the cartridge slot. So what would happen is anytime the cartridge would lose connection with these pins at the back, the sound would cut out or distort. So that was another problem that the board was having. But other than that, everything else was working fine. So what did I do? I went and I desoldered the Unibias chip here. And this was actually one of the main reasons I bought the two faulty boards. I think I paid, what was it, £20 I paid for the two faulty AES consoles. And I thought, well, if I can get one working, that's great. But this chip alone is usually worth around £20, so I thought even if I can't get either of the boards working, that's fine. I could just use that chip for another project. But anyway, getting off topic here. The idea I had was I was going to desolder this, install a socket, put the chip back in, and then I could sell the board on. Obviously, I need to repair this as well. But, and I'll just bring it up to the camera here. On closer inspection, I don't know if you'll be able to make that out there. It might not come across. Hairs and everything on the board. Don't know if you'll be able to make that out too well on the camera, but the board is really badly damaged. Just around the vias and the traces that lead to the BIOS chip. Maybe if I zoom in, you can see there's loads of lifted traces, and the board's just pretty much knackered around the BIOS chip there. And if I turn it over, it's just as bad. This is after I've cleaned it all up and fully inspected it and everything. You can see it's all burnt, and yeah, it's not in good shape at all. So I decided that instead of wasting some parts board now anyway, so it doesn't matter if I drop it. I decided what I was going to do, instead of spending all my time repairing all these traces, installing a socket, and then testing the board out and what have you, and then I'd have to repair this. I thought what I'll do is I'll just use the parts from this board to repair the other board that I had, and that's pretty much what I've done. Yes, I could have probably repaired this, but it would take me literally hours and hours of time to get that sorted out, and even then I'd have to repair this here, and it might not end up being a fully reliable fix. So if I'm going to be selling this on, I don't want to sell it to someone and then find it doesn't work a couple of weeks or months down the line. So I thought what I'll do is I'll just use the parts from this board to fix the other one. So that's what I've done. I've taken the other boards, if you remember, had a problem with the power circuitry. So what I've done is I've just desoldered all the power circuitry from this one and installed it into the other one. So this is going to end up being just a straight up parts board now. The good thing is I know that every single one of these components in here works fine, so that's a bonus right there. I know that all the RAM and everything works as it should because I had games running on it before. The only problem is this bias area here, and obviously the cartridge slot. But there you go, that's what happened to the first one. I'll put that to the side. The other thing as well, even if I did get this working, I didn't have enough parts to have a complete console, so I didn't have the top section of the top of the shell, and I was also missing the little flap for the what do you call it, the memory card slot. So yeah, another reason why it wasn't really worth my time to fix that one up. So ended up getting a parts board and the Unibias chip that I originally wanted, and the other console is right here, and it is fully working, as you can see there. Looks great. And I'll just get the sound back up. So I'm actually just testing this one out before I send it off, because I sold it on eBay, and I think I got £100 for it, including the postage and everything. So once you take away the cost of the game, I included the power supply and the RGB SCART cable, and the time I put into it, it's worked out as quite a good deal. So I spent £20 on it. Take away the postage and everything, it probably ended up with about £40 profit for 2 hours work, I suppose, so that's not too bad. But yeah, this is fully working, and to repair the damage to the, well, I didn't actually bother repairing the damage to the corner of the shell here, I've just left it as it is. But I don't know if you remember, but the power switch was missing from this one, so what I ended up doing was using a power slider from a Mega Drive, and that fits in there perfectly now. I had to use a file and kind of shape it a bit to properly fit, but as you can see, it works great. I'll just change the aspect ratio on my TV here. But there you go. For my £20, I ended up getting a fully working Neo Geo AES. I've got a parts board here that I know that everything on works, apart from obviously it's now missing its power circuitry and the BIOS chip, but I ended up getting myself the BIOS chip, which I can now use in other projects, and I've just sold this one for £100, so yeah, worked out really well in the end. You can see it plays fine. I'm just play testing it before I send it off. But there you go. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you again soon.